What up, fam? City update. Someone's in my front yard. So I've done a lot in the past couple weeks since my last city update, and if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It kind of explains the whole concept of my actual city in more detail. But also since then, Emily from Memosaurus, Josh from Josh Build Stuff, and myself recorded a ranking video for every single modular building within the theme, as well as a blooper and outtakes video for that collab. But since my last update, I had 3 different modulars to add to the city. I had the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Lego store from the Bricklink Designer program, as well as the new Jazz Club. Now, it's already difficult to add 1 building in a city that's already limited in space, but to add 3, I have to do some major maneuvering around. Now remember, I have 4 different districts that I want to keep intact. The business district, the bougie district, the hipster district, and well, Ninjago area, which is like affordable housing. Now with the business district, I'm already in love with the silhouette of the skyline with the modulars that are already in place, so I try my best not to maneuver anything around on the top shelf. Plus it already has some lighting into it, so that would have already been a pain. But I do think there's still opportunity on the right side of this district where you have the diner, the Palace Cinema, as well as the Daily Bugle and the Grand Emporium. Somewhere here it kind of feels a little off because they're not connected, but much like the detective's office and the rest of the new modulars that came out within the past couple years, I feel like having them not connected gives it a little bit more depth, and it kind of gives other avenues for which these minifigures can walk through, as opposed to just waiting to walk through one of the tunnels on either end of the mountain. Now with my filler district, as Emily says it, which is my bougie district, most of the building silhouette is in a complete straight line. Now this does have opportunity for me to throw something else in there to kind of break it up a little bit, and that's what I did. If you look at my hipster district from the past, I wasn't really in love with it. I felt like it was just kind of thrown in place just for whatever I had left. Now this is where the biggest opportunity was, and where I felt I could have the most impact in maneuvering the city around. With 3 different modulars, I already knew I was going to have to do this anyways eventually, but really is to play with the depth. Now by elevating stacked modulars behind other modulars, I think that was my best play. I knew eventually I was gonna have to do this with all 3 levels of my city, but for right now I think the bottom level is going to be a good way for me to play with this. Now every level before the retaining wall has their own road. Now with having to stack modulars behind the other ones, I have to pull the initial buildings forward, thus getting rid of the road, which isn't a problem. I felt like my city was already congested with too many minifigures and too many vehicles, so this forced me to take a deep dive into what I really want displayed within my city. So I pulled a lot of vehicles from all 3 levels, kept the ones I really do love, as well as the minifigures that are walking around. I don't want to feel like I'm overpopulated. So by pulling the modulars forward, I only have the 2 side rows on either end. Now I'm probably just going to keep these in place, just like a dead end. That's pretty much where you're going. And then you have a walkway going from one end to the other. I guess so by doing so, you have like prime real estate at this point for anyone who lives on this part of the city. So this allowed me to add 2 different modulars in this U setup, which is cool because I really didn't want to get rid of my modularized OG Sanctum Sanctorum, and by hiding kind of behind other buildings, it looks decent, as well as putting the Bricklink Designer program Lego store behind it as well. I do love this set. It looks amazing, but the only problem that I have with it is that it's a giant open space. The facade of the building looks great, but if you really look at it, most modulars have like 2 to 3 levels. This one's just one solid open building. So by hiding half of the modular behind others, it actually looks decent this time because you don't have this big open area where you're kind of wondering why there's a lot of negative space. And plus, by setting it up this way with this U, I actually have room for 2 more modulars in the future. I have a completely open lot behind the boutique hotel, and if I really need to, I can get rid of the OG Sanctum Sanctorum and add another modular there. Most likely either the pet shop or the bookstore, since I feel like those are completely fillers and will look good as a backdrop more than just the set itself. But by getting rid of the road, I felt like the police station just didn't make sense down there because now the police can't get to their building unless they have to walk to it. So I traded it with the pet shop, which I moved towards the bottom level because, well, it's a filler modular and I'm totally comfortable hiding it. And by adding it to this district, it kind of breaks it up a little bit. There's a little bit of height and a little bit of depth now with just this one building. Shout out to everyone who really loves this set, to include myself, Emily, Claire the Plastic Architect, and Amberlaya. Now, there's not really much dynamic still within this district, but I'm starting to get there. And if you already noticed, the brick bank also made it down to the hipster district, leaving room for the Sanctum Sanctorum. And I think having it right next to the greengrocer, I'm not in love with it. I mean, the colors kind of match to each other, so they blend. It's a sand green building next to a sand green building. You kind of want to break them up, and having the Parisian restaurant literally across the street, I have a section in this city where it's just the same paint. So with this level, before I light it up, maybe shifting the assembly square closer to the cafe corner might do the trick, but still, there's going to be a lot of play, I feel like, in the future with this district. And then also, I had a ton of burps that I need to finally put into the city. Now, for a very long time, I just had the backdrop just in the background, and the mountain facade, I feel like, was really only in my head, and it was very hard to show off. But now that I have these burps just stacked behind literally everything, all the way up from the bottom level to the top level, I hope it kind of gives off the mountain feel. Now, in the past, I wanted to do intricate rock work behind every single building, but in the end, I feel like if there was just too much going on, it might really hurt the eye. So I felt like having burps can kind of clean it up a little bit, but there's still a lot that I need to do to them. If you can see it, there's a lot of gap and it looks too monotonous. It's the same thing stacked on the same thing. So I do have a lot of slopes that I've been accumulating within the past 2 years to start doing the rock work behind the buildings. So eventually I'm going to break a lot of this up, but I feel like adding intricate artwork in random sections around the rock facade would do it justice. You can kind of see portions of the rock where it's smooth versus others where they're going to be jagged. It'll also save me a lot of money from buying all these slopes. And since the bottom level kind of took up most of the majority of the facade, I had to move half of Diagon Alley to the other side of it, which I needed to fill anyways because that rock wall had to continue going vertical in that direction as well, all the way up to at least the business district to have the true facade of the mountain. Now, this was a troubled place for me only because I had to figure out a way to support the weight of what's being held above it. Now, I wasn't really planning to have more Lego when I built this shelving unit, but I still found a very useful solution. Now, if you didn't notice, I tossed out most of my Lego boxes as soon as I'm done building the set. Most of my Lego boxes, but I do keep all my third-party Lego boxes. Those things need their own space, and like many of us, I'm almost out of room. The city before this was already being propped up by some of those boxes. That's how I kind of cheated some of the facades in the background by elevating them up with Brickmania boxes below that. And well, I just did the same thing. There's a lot of Brickmania boxes stacked up on the right side of the shelving unit, covered by burps, so you can't really see some of it from the front side, and obviously you can see it on the right. It's a good place for me to kind of store my Brickmania boxes, and or in easy access if I really need to get through it. It's really not that hard. I just got to pull the facades out of the way and then I'll be done with it. Eventually, these facades need to connect. I haven't really done a great job doing that, but I'm kind of working with it. That's where the intricate artwork is going to really come in play, especially in the front of the entire city. That's where the intricate rock work is going to be for the mountain. Is in the front of the city, not behind it. So going forward, I still have a lot to do by maneuvering a lot of these modulars from place to place until I really feel happy with the setup. With the top level, I'm kind of content. The bottom level, I'm almost there. The middle, I still got to play with it a little bit. There's still a lot that I have to do. And by wanting to light up every single modular by the end of 2023, I got to get it together, literally.